everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Voices of Monadnock. My name is Anina Hansen. I work for Trauma Responsive Monadnock, which is a program of Monadnock Family Services, and we produce this show in cooperation with the Greater Monadnock Collaborative Chamber of Commerce, just bringing people together from the community to talk about what's going on in their lives and what we love about being here in the area and what's good. And so today we have Rob Gillis joining us. You might be our first resident from Hancock. I'm trying to remember if we've done that before. So let's say you are. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do around the area.
Yeah, my wife and I, my wife Noelle and I, as you said, live in Hancock. We've been in the same home for 32 years now.
Nice.
Originally, we're drawn to the Monadnock region just because of the hiking, the local skiing, the climate. I grew up in Connecticut, spent my first 18 years there. Then was away at college at the University of Connecticut, go UConn, and decided to take a year off because I wasn't very focused, shall we maybe say. And a friend of mine had said that she had done an internship up at a location supporting children with disabilities in New Hampshire. And I thought, New Hampshire seems nice. And came on up and did an interview with Crutched Mountain Foundation, their school program back in 1984.
Okay.
And loved the work, and they offered me a job when I walked from one building to another and went back to the bar restaurant I was working in Connecticut during my year off, and gave my 2
Figured that
weeks
was a better
notice,
professional option, huh?
Yep, came up to New Hampshire and started working in the field supporting children at that time with disabilities. Met my wife-to-be soon after. She was also working as a frontline staff there in their school program. And got to meet a wonderful group of, just awesome people that were also working there. They had dormitories, so it was kind of familiar coming from a college environment. Some for the good, some for the bad. But it was very convenient, was able to live there on campus.
Nice.
Hung out again with a great group of people that love to ski and hike, and being in the Monadnock region, you have all of that right out your doorstep. So was there for over 20 years.
You worked at Crotched for over 20.
I worked at Crotched for over 20 years, yep. My wife as well worked there for almost 20 years. She's worked in the school system since then. I've finally did go back to finish up my degrees and got my bachelor's degree from Keene State right here down the street. Back in 2004, and then took advantage of a deal that they have with the other state schools where I was able to take some classes at Keene that also contributed to a Plymouth MBA program.
Okay.
So about 4 or 5 classes that double counted and got me a heads up on my MBA while I was still working on my bachelor's at Keene State, and was able to actually take about 9 months off from work and really bang out the MBA. So finally, on the 25-year plan, did get back and finish up my education. Yeah.
How has that paid off for you?
Well, it was actually, odd because, I always wanted to be in management. For some reason, I didn't really know, but as a kid, I wanted to be a manager, be in business administration. And my final degree, the specialty of my MBA, was strategic management and organizational development. And so I got out of school close to 45, and did have to compete with all the 25-year-olds that were getting out of college at the time. And there was a small organization in Peterborough that had a 30-year history of providing supports for adults with disabilities called Monadnock WorkSource. And I applied for the job there and pretty quickly realized when I got the job that I applied for, but I realized pretty quickly that this was a company that has been doing the same thing for the last 20 years, and great people, great organization, but it was really kind of stuck in the past.
They
And
need
so-
some management, huh?
Well, as someone that was looking at organizational development
Yeah.
and strategic management at times of change, and in some ways I hadn't plotted it all out, but it was the perfect resume or educationally for what I was looking for in a job with this great small company that
It's
I
great
just,
when that works out.
yeah, exactly. And, you know, our disability services system in the last 2 years has undergone a complete overhaul here in the state of New Hampshire
Okay.
to meet federal Medicaid guidelines.
Okay.
The Medicaid delivery system in New Hampshire as of July 1st of 23 completely changed.
Really? Okay.
And so again, that background in organizational development and strategic planning,
During times of transition, huh?
who would have known how appropriate it was going to be for me and for the, you know, career path that I chose. And so I've been with Monadnock WorkSource for 15 years now.
Isn't that something? So you've had basically 2 jobs in your professional career,
Yep,
which is a
here-
rare thing nowadays.
Yeah, I had a little segue for about 4 months with another job in the disability services field out in Claremont. But still lived in Hancock, so it was
A terrible
quite a commute. Yeah, no big major roads to get you out there. And actually, I had just ended that job when they had the terrific or the horrible flooding that was out in that neck of the woods where someone had passed away up in Alstead.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, you know, not only that was tragic, but both of the roads that I used to take to my old office got washed out during that big storm. And that was probably 2008.
Before
or
the
so.
days of working hybrid from home. Huh?
Well before that. Yeah. So literally, you can't get there from here. The 2 paths that I would normally take to go to work got washed out.
It's a sign.
Yeah.
Better
it
go
was.
check at Monadnock WorkSource.
Exactly. So I was lucky enough, during my years working up at Crotchet, I learned how to deliver adaptive skiing lessons.
Yes.
And so
I've
was,
seen that there. It's
yeah,
very cool.
At Crotchet Mountain for years, although it's not in operation right now, they had a wonderful adaptive ski program, adaptive kayaking in the off season.
Well, they still have adaptive skiers. I've seen being
Yes.
there with my daughter during her school ski program, and Crotchet staff would bring them over to just ski at the slope. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it really is amazing where you know you can have an individual with a disability, and even if the only motion they can control is turning their head left and right, that can be enough to initiate skiing for them, to give them some control. So
Amazing.
I was really lucky. I had done that for decades.
You were the one doing the adaptive skiing with them?
Yeah.
What a
yeah.
terrible job, huh?
Yeah, well,
What a hardship.
Job comes with a little asterisk because, you know, we got free ski passes
Okay.
at some of the mountains around, but there was no payment for it.
Gotcha.
But what you get out of the joy that you're helping people experience with that was really, really amazing.
Okay, I bet.
And right when I finished that job up in Claremont, I was still looking for a job, you know, had a new shiny MBA, but you know, had a real struggle. But it was the winter season, so I was volunteering with that ski program, and it was a great way to spend the winter season. And then I was able to locate this job at the Monadnock WorkSource, and started that. Basically, got hired when the ski season was still going on, and told them I couldn't start working till the ski season was done, and so I was able to start part-time. And it's great because then even after I joined Monadnock WorkSource, the individuals that I work with now
Right.
participated in the adaptive skiing and adaptive biking and adaptive shooting, programs that were run through CMARS. And there's a wonderful program, NESA, up at Mount Sunapee that is still doing it. But the official program that was hosted at Crotched Mountain isn't operating or hasn't operated last year. So I'm kind of hoping it comes back again because I would love to have that be part of the things that I do this coming winter.
Nice.
And paying for a ski ticket these days.
You're spoiled.
Yeah.
No, I want them given to me, thank you.
I was spoiled.
I'm so interested to hear this because this is a different perspective than we've had on the show before. What else can you tell us about services like that? These adaptive skiing, adaptive shooting, like I knew about some of that, but tell us more about that sort of programming that's available to people with various other abilities.
There's multitude of options. Here in New Hampshire, we're a little more limited, but nationwide there's adaptive surfing, almost any sport you and I could participate in.
There actually is some of that happens at Hampton in the summertime.
Yeah, I've seen some folks, because again, there's still a number of very well established adaptive sports programs that are functioning in New Hampshire and over the border down in Massachusetts.
That's what I'm interested in. Is there other stuff here in Monadnock that you know of?
There isn't really right now. Okay. Again, Crotched Mountain has undergone some ownership changes.
A number of them.
Exactly, a couple in the last few years. And an unfortunate byproduct of the different sales was the people who are currently running the facility don't have access, don't have the equipment, basically are having to start from scratch to replace a program that was 20 years in the development. So it's a lot of money for the adaptive skis, the adaptive bikes, so I'm a never optimistic person, and I believe there will be an adaptive program in the Monadnock region again. Monadnock Conservation, which one of the local organizations that has done some great work outlining local hiking trails, Monadnock Outdoors. Monadnock Outdoors. A group affiliated with them, and apologies, I don't remember all the details, is really looking into accessibility of the recreation opportunities here in the Monadnock region.
There's the Rail Trail Commission or something like that, and they're really working on making sure that those are accessible.
They were participants in that group that I've only attended a few of their meetings, but basically attended to see if adaptive programming, how much was it on folks' radar, and it was quite a bit. They had some other wonderful participants who experienced disabilities, who were talking about some of the challenges that they have, because a traditional family with a disabled son or daughter isn't going to be able to drop $5,000 on a ski that they'll use 2 or 3 times during the course of the year. There were representatives from the Keene Lending Library that were talking about what could they provide, what would be some of the barriers to having adaptive equipment. Unfortunately, a lot of it has to be fit properly to an individual, and so it's not as easy as just, I'm going to grab the adaptive ski and go skiing.
Well, tell us a little bit more about that, because some people probably don't know. What I'm picturing when I've been there with my daughter at the ski slope was people who are actually lying down on sort of a single ski that supports their prone body, and then there's other people helping to guide them down the mountain. So that's one version of adaptive skiing. Are there others?
Yeah, there are quite a bunch of different options depending on the participant's ability. There are ways that, although I'm not very good at it, to support skiers who are visually impaired.
Okay.
We use a lot of nylon tethers.
Okay.
And so, you can attach, a belt type unit and nylon tethers to someone who is visually impaired, and just give them a little nudge on the tether on their left-hand side, which kind of can just help them initiate a turn. So, visually impaired folks can ski. We have a lot of equipment that is used for stand-up skiers, but they might not have a steady enough gait to be able to ski independently. So if you imagine a walker, but with skis on it.
No kidding.
So there's adaptive devices that, again, have an instructor behind them holding on to nylon tethers that are attached to the ski. And can, again, it's the individual, if they have some upper body control, can initiate the turns, but the instructor in the back also can put pressure on those tethers and help initiate a turn. Because I'm not sure if you're a skier at all, but if you literally look in the direction you want to go, it triggers a body movement that the engineers that create the ski use to turn the ski. So it doesn't really take a lot of physical effort to generate turns and things like that.
That's
so
really cool.
What you saw, there's a number of different versions of mono skis with one ski underneath, or bi-skis, which is the most common, with two skis underneath, for people that aren't capable yet of skiing with the mono ski, because you have to have really, really good balance to be able to do that. But yeah, those are for participants typically who, again, either have a really unsteady gait and can't stand up and use the four-track, they call them, the walker with skis, or are users of wheelchairs. And so they can actually sit in, it's almost like a little bobsled unit, where their feet are secured, their upper body is secured, but they have free use of their arms. Some have a little outrigger that has a ski on the bottom. Those typically for someone who is skilled and wants to really initiate good turns, or others that just have those outriggers fixed on the bi-ski unit. And then again, the instructor is in the back with tethers that are attached to that ski. Or as you saw, I think, there's also designs where the instructor is holding right on to the ski. Those tend to have a little less independent ability for the participant.
The ones that
to
I
control.
saw were, they were not independent at all.
Yeah, so I tend to be a purist and let the individuals ski as independently as they possibly can. And so that's, being behind by about 10 feet, again, allows the individual to make those turns. If they're unable to do it, then the safeguard of the instructor in the back can initiate those turns and also help control the speed of the device. So it'll be really great, because there's a lot of individuals with disabilities around the region who are really not able to ski now, at least locally. Again, Sunapee has a great program. Of course, the big mountains up at Loon and Waterville Valley have really well-established programs.
That's
but
good to know.
we don't have anything locally here, and at this point, it would be great to hear differently if Crotchet was able to put something together. But
so one thing I've been noticing as I've been listening to you is, because you're working, Monadnock WorkSource is working with people experiencing disabilities. Like, I'm noticing some terminology, and I work in social services, and we're very careful about what language you use, because of how you can other people, make them feel different or be stigmatizing or whatever it is. And I've noticed you with a few things, even like your use of visually impaired. And so I'm wondering if you want to give a quick little primer on sort of what is the for people who are in the disability community, I don't know if that's okay, what's the preferred language?
Yeah, a good question. and once we nail it down, it will change.
It's always changing. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I know for a while, and I still use the terminology periodically, people who experience disabilities
I noticed that.
seemed to be politically correct for a while. But, it almost sounded like it was an experience you have, then you don't have, then you do have.
Comes and goes, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's not the case.
Right.
So it does seem now to be more prevalent to just say, people with a disability. Nothing to be ashamed of, nothing that makes them any different than you or I in our value as who we are as human beings on this planet. They just happen to have a disability. But you're right, because there's a big difference between that and like naming someone by their disability.
Exactly.
And that's...
They are a blank and just a single term that describes
exactly,
it. Yeah.
And they are not. They are wonderful individuals who have a lot to contribute to local society and who have a great value in our world. And that's really where the work that we do at Monadnock works.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, we're a small provider of disability services. We feature 3 main components. One, residential living. We help folks to live as independently as they possibly can, whether it be in their own apartment where they have support a couple hours a day. We help make sure that they pay their bills and take their meds and keep their apartment clean enough so they don't get kicked out of housing. We have a growing supported employment program. WorkSource, that was a big part of our history, but over COVID, even for years before that, it got a little harder to find real jobs for people with disabilities in the Monadnock region. And so we've just recently hired a new coordinator who specializes in supported employment, in finding employment opportunities, developing relationships with businesses. One of the reasons I go to the Monadnock Collaborative meetings is to be able to make connections with folks to say, hey, you have a business need out there. Boy, if it matches with a work skill that some of the participants that the WorkSource supports has, it can be a decades-long employment relationship.
Nice. Okay.
Many of our folks aren't going to be holding down 40-hour-a-week jobs at Hitchner's, but boy, if what they can do and do well matches a need that your business has, that's where we find that we have long-term employment placements. So
that's really nice.
Yeah, that's the second big part of our organization, the residential living, the supported employment, but then we also have our community participation day program, which is where folks come to our facility site in Peterborough during the day, and from there go out to volunteer opportunities, go out for recreational opportunities, go out to learn life skills and how to make purchases, how to plan a menu, how to cook basic recipes. Again, all leading towards being valued and contributing members of their local community, but so that they can live as independently as possible and, experience the great life we all have here in the Monadnock region.
Isn't that fantastic? And you've done such a good job of breaking down what that is and what that looks like. We're just about out of time, so I would just like to hear, what are you excited about as far as, in your job here in Monadnock, or just sort of your life and what you do in the community in general? What are you excited about that's coming next for you?
Yeah, good question. Well, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the changes that have occurred to our delivery system here of disability service in New Hampshire, has been through a rocky year and a half. But it's settling down now. There's some very competent, very wonderful people who are in positions of authority with our disability delivery system, and I think there's going to be a bright future there for folks who experience disabilities here in the Monadnock region. Personally, it's been a year and a half that I've had to work a lot more than I want to. I'm lucky enough, I live 7 miles away from my office, and 5.5 of it I can ride my mountain bike on old rail trails to and from work. And I haven't really been able to do that much in the last couple of years, but I'm really looking forward to, things settling at work, things settling with all the changes to our disability system so that I can get back out and drop my truck off at work Sunday night, bike home, and then just bike back and forth to work all week.
Fantastic.
Enjoy hiking and biking around the Monadnock region.
Right, the perfect perks of living here.
It really, really is.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us today, Rob.
Sorry,
it's been
it took
really
so
good to
long,
hear from
but
you.
I'm glad
Hey, we
that
made it
got
happen.
to be the first in the new,
when the time is right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, thank you. It's been great to have you. And thank you all for tuning in today for Voices of Monadnock. Come back and join us again another week. I'm Anina Hansen. I'll see you again. We can applaud for us.